So I take this opportunity to welcome those who have just joined us. We had already started, but we are going to start again. And this class is being recorded for the purpose of the people who will not be able to join us today and those who will be joining us late. Now, today we are going to focus on public relations, topic 3, strategic perspective of public relations. Last week we looked at topic 2, crisis management, crisis and issues management. So, having said that, I think what we are going to do, we are going to move to straight to the point. And today we are looking at definitions of concepts of strategy. Let us look at the concepts of strategy. Now, strategy it has been defined by various scholars, but today we want to understand this concept of what is a strategy. Now, when you talk about a strategy, strategy is a means of establishing the purpose of an organization. The means of establishing the purpose of an organization. Every organization that exists in this world has a purpose. That purpose is what we call goals or objectives. That every time they are operating, they have goals and objectives that guide them or that guides their actions and decisions. Like, for example, one of the main purposes of an organization is to make profit and retain customers or satisfy customers' requirements. So therefore, strategy, it sets direction towards providing a framework for decision making. Why a framework for decision making? So that when you are making your decision, when you're coming up with what we call a decision making arm of the organization, then the decisions that are being made must be the decisions that go hand in hand with the long-term objectives of the organization, so that at least the organization can achieve what it has what it was established to achieve. It's just like you as a student, you may want anytime you go to school, for example, you did this particular course, maybe journalism and media studies, or diploma in communication and media studies. You have a goal in life. That goal in life is called a long-term goal. For example, you want to do what? To pursue this course because you want to be a journalist in the future. You wanting to be a journalist in future, you are trying to paint a picture of what you'd want to become in future. And because of that, you wake up early in the morning to achieve this long-term goal. You attend to your classes, you attend to all your lectures because you want to achieve this long-term goal. We go to number 2. Strategy defines the competitive domain of a firm. It involves determining the specific business or market in which the organizations operate or should operate. In other words, a strategy is a competitive domain. A strategy is that which directs the firm that you can be able to move from point A to point B. That's a strategy. Strategy, it helps identify the organization's unique selling proportions and how it can differentiate itself from competitors. Like, for example, you'll find that organizations that manufacture the same products of the same nature, like you'll find that organizations that manufacture what we call cooking oil. We have so many. But now your cooking oil must be differentiated from your competitors. Now, for your product to be differentiated from your competitor, that is a strategy. Because if your products were to look like your competitors, customers will not know which products belong to which company, and so on and so forth. So they'll buy any. Maybe you would think that they are buying your product only to be shocked that they are buying your competitor's product. So therefore, a strategy defines the competitive domain of a firm. That I am able to compete with another firm. That I am able to be up and above, a notch ahead, ahead of my competitors. And it involves determining the specific business or market in which the organization operates or should operate. It helps identify the organization's unique selling proposition. For example, look at the adverts that run on TV. I'm looking at these companies that manufacture these things. We call them, is it serum, body serum or face serum? There are so many. But when you look at them, even the packaging, when you look at them, even the way they are, the people who are advertising, the subjects in the adverts, the wordings, the packaging, and how it looks different, such that if you go to the supermarket or departmental stores, you cannot confuse between the two. For example, you cannot confuse Nivea with Garnier. You cannot confuse Vassman with Nivea, and so on and so forth. So that is it. So strategy defines the competitive domain of a firm, and it involves determining specific business or markets in which the organizations operate or should operate. It differentiates your products from your competitors' products. Point 3, strategy is a response to external opportunities and threats, and internal strengths and weaknesses that affect the organization. Every organization has got an external opportunities. It has got external threats. There are people who are threatening you, your competitors. There is what we call internal strength and weakness. Even individuals, as we speak, you have your own weaknesses and you have your own strength as a student. So what you are advised, don't put a lot of effort on your strength. Put a lot of effort on your weaknesses, so that at least when you are a student, you can balance everything. The same case with organizations. Organizations do not use a lot of effort on their strength. They use a lot of effort, and they spend a lot of time dealing with their weaknesses, so that at least they will be at par with other organizations or far above their competitors. So it involves assessing external environments such as market trends and competitors analysis, and internal capabilities and resources to formulate a plan of action. We continue, we move on. Point number 4, it says, strategy is a central vehicle for achieving competitive advantage. What is competitive advantage? Competitive advantage is that you are, if customers were to choose products, they will choose your product because maybe your product are of high quality, because maybe your product are they are better than that one of your competitor. That is having a competitive advantage. Like, for example, when you look at some organizations here in Kenya and around the world, there are those organizations that do not advertise themselves. They have already established themselves. Those organizations, they are not competing. They are not spending a lot of money in advertising. They are not spending a lot of money in what we call marketing and promotion, because they have gained that competitive advantage. But there are these upcoming organizations that are spending a lot of money in advertising, in marketing, in promotion, and so on and so forth, because they want to achieve a competitive advantage. So when you have a very good strategy, it enables you to achieve a competitive advantage. That customer already knows us, customers already knows our product, they already know our services. We don't need to advertise ourselves. We don't need to go there and tell them we exist. They already know us. That one is a competitive advantage. And it involves identifying, developing sustainable competitive advantage that will allow the organization outperform its rivals. When you see an organization outperforming its rivals, then it has gotten to a point of having or achieving a competitive, it has already achieved a competitive advantage. Like we have many, we can mention them in the world and in our country. We have so many organizations, while others are so much spending a lot of money to advertise. Them, they don't advertise themselves. And customers, they have a lot of customers. Even some universities, I don't want to mention them. You go to that university to look for what we call a chance to apply. They tell you our intakes are full until next year, a day like today, or the month like now. They tell you that our intakes are full until next year. While you'll find that some universities, they are struggling. They're so much struggling. Even with that one intake, they are struggling so much to get students. And also some organizations. You go to some organizations, they tell you their products, they are bought. You go to departmental stores, you go to supermarkets, people are fighting for these products and services. When you sometimes you go to some departmental stores and you find that the products are finished for this organization, but they don't want those of their competitors. That is what we call a competitive advantage. So if you have a good strategy, it will enable you to achieve a competitive advantage over your rivals, because this may include what? Factors such as cost leadership, product differentiation. Product differentiation is customer is able to differentiate between your product and your competitors. Innovation, you are able to innovate new ways or come up with new ways. And uniqueness. Like if you look at a mobile manufacturing company, why do you like them, a certain mobile phone? Because of its uniqueness. Because of you can differentiate it from others. Because of unique market positioning of that organization. Point number 5, strategy engages all hierarchical levels of the firm. When you talk about strategy, it is not about only the top level management. It's not about the CEO, managing director, the president, the chairman. The top level. It involves everybody, including the soldiers, the gate. So it involves all the hierarchical levels of a firm, including corporate, including business, operational functions. What does it do? It aligns the actions and efforts of individuals and departments toward achieving the overall strategic goals of the organization. So everybody, starting from the soldiers at the gate, the watchmen at the gate, all up to what we call the CEO, they know why that organization is there. So they are strategically advised that this organization exists, make profit, and to do or to satisfy customers' requirement profitably. So they know. Anytime you'll find that they're singing the song of the organization. Number 6, strategy is a motivating force. Stakeholders directly or indirectly receive benefits or bear costs derived from action of the firm. So when you have a strategy, we are actually seeing it as a motivating force. You have a very good strategy. you are able to achieve competitive advantage. Everybody will run to have your shares. These people called who? The investors will come with good deals, want to invest with you, want to invest with your company. Why? Because they have seen that when they invest with you, they are not going to lose. Nobody wants to invest in a company that they know very well this company is dying tomorrow. Oh, people want to invest in a company that they know this one has bright future. The bright future company, the one that has already achieved competitive advantage, that has already done what? It has outperformed its rivals. That is where the investors will run to. Would want to invest with you, they would want to do what we call do business with you, and so on and so forth. So when you have a very good strategy, it acts as a motivating force for stakeholders who directly or indirectly receive benefits or bear costs derived from actions the firms. Perspectives of strategy. We have various perspectives of strategy. Number one, we have linear strategy. I want you to understand this. We have linear strategy. Linear strategy is also known as the planning approach. Linear strategy is also known as the planning approach. It emphasizes a methodological or a methodical sequential planning process in PR strategy development. It views strategy as a structured, goal-oriented activity with a focus on rational decision making. So they are saying that linear strategy, it focuses on rational decision making. A rational decision making is a decision making that will benefit everyone. A rational decision making is a decision making that is based on facts. It is not a biased decision making. And this perspective assumes that the organization operates in a relatively predictable environment and that decisions made at the top management can be implemented throughout the organization. So rational decision making is a reasoning decision making. You are making a decision based on reasoning. And not only reasoning, but good reasoning. So linear strategy means what? It means that as you are making decisions, you are making decisions based on the what? The predictable environment, that you can predict what will happen. For example, you remember COVID-19. Nobody could predict that COVID-19 would come. And so many businesses were affected by COVID-19. Some institutions were closed down. Some universities did not operate fully. Some people were sent home, and some organizations were closed down totally. And now, after that, after COVID-19 actually, the vaccine was found and organizations resumed their normal operations. As we speak right now, I think any organization has got a linear strategy. They can predict that this might happen. They predicted in case another disease like COVID-19 comes, how are we going to operate? So when you predict that something might happen to you, then that means that you're having a linear strategy. So let's look at an example of a linear strategy. For example, a company decides to launch a new product and follow a linear strategy. You can imagine a company. This company might be a coffee making company or a coffee production company, a producing company. So a company decides to launch a new product, say a new coffee product. It follows linear strategy. Remember, a linear strategy is you are able to predict what will happen in future. And by predicting, you are able to do what? after predicting, you are able to preempt that possible pitfall that may happen in future. So they conduct market research to identify target audiences. So they do a research to find out who are our target audiences, or who are our target customers. So they develop key messages, create detailed communication plan, and they execute the plan step by step, ensuring that each action aligns with the predetermined objective. The linear strategy, the linear model, however, is based on a number of assumptions. So in other words, let me give you an example. You are able to predict what will happen in future. So once you are able to predict what will happen in the future, for example, COVID-19, what I have just told you, you come up with a plan to preempt that possible pitfall, or that possible thing, or that possible calamity. Once you do that, you are good to go. That in case there will be another disease like COVID-19, you have what we call a strategy, and your organization is not going to close down as it closed down the last year, the last 5 years, something like that. Then this particular strategy, it can only operate at different circumstances, or at a different what we call assumptions. What are these assumptions? For the strategy, linear strategy to work, you must assume that the organization need to be structured in a formal way, so that the decisions made at the top management are implemented throughout the organization. So you are assuming that our organization, suppose it is a university, suppose it is a service rendering organization or industry, that it is structured in a formal way, so that when decisions are made by the top level management, they are trickled down the lowest level management, the staff on there, maybe the soldiers, so on and so forth, the cleaners, those that are in the organization. Those decisions are followed by everybody in an organization, from the top management, the middle management, the lowest management level. Decisions made at the top management, they are followed by every employee in an organization. The linear strategy to work. It also assumes that organizations are operating in a relatively predictable environment, so that the organization is well insulated from the environmental forces. So it assumes that organizations are operating in an environment that you can predict what will happen tomorrow, that you can predict that this week there will be very heavy rains. Because of that, we are operating knowing very well there will be floods, there will be heavy rains. And so if there will be very heavy rains, let us work so that when these heavy rains comes, we are able to do what? Will not be affected that much. For example, universities that were affected during COVID-19, they came up with a strategy. They said, some of them said, if another disease like COVID-19 struck Kenya, struck the world, will not be affected. So they came up with what we call online classes. These online classes means that even if there will be COVID, we'll just switch on to online classes. So that is strategy. It assumes that organizations are operating in a relatively predictable environment, or that organizations are well insulated from the external forces. It also assumes for this strategy to work, which is linear strategy, managers are assumed to act in a more or less rational manner and have access to the necessary information. That for the managers, for this linear strategy to work, managers must be able to be provided with every information that they need. If they are not able to be given information, that will enable them to do what? To insulate to do what we call to preempt that possible pitfall, then linear strategy will not work. So for the linear strategy to work, managers must be provided with information of the organization. So the realities of these assumptions of linear strategy have been challenged about whether managers do in fact act in an entirely rational manner in making strategic decisions. That one is being strategic. Being strategic, we mean, like the example that I've given, that in case there will be COVID, because COVID-19 led to many organizations being shut down totally. In case another disease comes, like COVID, organizations have already adapted to e-learning or online. I'm talking about or e-working. You can work from home, you can teach from home, you can do a lot of things from home. You don't have to go to work. So many organizations have adopted that so that in case something of the sort happens, the organization will run as usual and it will not lose anything. So that is linear strategy for you. Perspectives of strategy of PR strategies continued. We also have what we call adaptive strategy. Adaptive strategy from the word adapting. Adaptive strategy comes from the word to adapt in a certain environment. For example, or let's read this first. Adaptive strategy recognizes dynamics and unpredictable nature of the environment in which an organization operates. It emphasizes the need for flexibility and responsiveness, changes the external environment. Rather than imposing a predefined strategy, this perspective focuses on adapting and aligning the organization with evolving circumstances. Let me give you an example. For an organization, or you are an institution. This institution, say for example, or let's just say a hotel. A hotel like KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken, we know very well. It's a company that deals with food, selling food, chicken, and what we call French fries, something like that, and some drinks. It has opened various branches in Kenya and across the world. Suppose you are opening a company like that one, and you're opening this company in a place like Interior Central. If you open this company in the Interior Central, you'll find that people might not so much. People don't know about this food. Don't know about this food. They are accustomed to their traditional foods, not accustomed to Kentucky Fried Chicken and so on and so forth. Now, for you now, attract customer from the Interior Central part of Kenya, you have opened a branch there. You have started a branch there of Kentucky Fried Chicken, I'm assuming. For you to attract their attention, then you will have to start by maybe, for example, cooking the foods that they know. Cook the food that they know, food that they are accustomed to. That as they come to eat the food they are accustomed to, you will also be telling them that there is this chicken called Kentucky Fried Chicken, and there is this French fries, and there are this kind of foods. See, you are marketing yourself as they are eating what they know, also telling them have this kind of food. But when you start with that kind of food at once, you may end up losing, because these people might not eat your food because they don't know the kind of food they are eating. So adapting is changing your ways of doing things. Let me give an example of a very good example with a company known as Safaricom. When Safaricom first came to Kenya, or when it first established itself in Kenya, credit was very expensive. Remember, credit was being sold at 1,000 shillings. 1,000 shillings then was a lot of money. It was like 2,000 shillings of nowadays. Now, that simply meant that the target audiences were people with money. Then it realizes that there is a very huge number of people who are not using phone, who are not buying credit because they cannot afford. So what they did, they started adapting to the environment. By now, reducing from 1,500 and 500 credit to 250 credit to 200 to, is it 200 or 250? Then there was 100, there was 50, then there was 20 shillings, then there was 5 shillings, 10 shillings, and 5 shillings. You see, now they adapted to the environment. And the moment they did that, they started making abnormal profit. Up to now, they are making abnormal profit because they were able to accommodate every person, everybody in the community, including if you don't have credit, you can buy credit for 5 shillings. Though that one applies even to bundles and so on and so forth. Now that one is called an adaptive strategy. They were able to adapt to the environment. So adaptive strategy example, we are being told a PR agency is handling a client brand reputation management. So a PR strategy agency is handling a client brand reputation management. So they monitor online conversations. Remember, they are looking at a client brand reputation, and they are monitoring online conversations on a social media trends. Observing a sudden surge in negative sentiments. You know very well that when people in social media, they talk positive about your brand, there are also those who will talk negative about your brand. So they observe a sudden surge in negative sentiments. Instead of sticking to the predetermined plan, they quickly adapt their strategy by proactively addressing the concerns, engaging with the audience, revising their messages to address the emerging issues. In other words, you're going for plan B. Your aim was to handle client brand reputation management. And as you are handling client reputation and reputation management, you realize that some people have started talking very bad about the product. What do? Do you now start saying that this is the best product ever? No, you change your strategy. Start addressing their issues. Start telling them, because of this, that is why the brand behaved like that. So that is why it happened like that. So in other words, you are going for plan B, adaptive. You are going for plan B, but your plan was plan A. Now plan has changed depending on environment. So that is adaptive strategy example. And we also have interpretative strategy. Interpretative strategy is, it emphasizes on the roles of organizational culture, emphasizes on the role of individual values and the roles of perception in PR strategy. It recognizes that the different stakeholders interpret and respond to communication in various ways. Even customers may respond and interpret communication in different ways. So this perspective emphasizes managing relationships with stakeholders based on an understanding of their perspective and values. example of interpretative strategy, that you're able to interpret strategy. So let's look at it. Example of an interpretative strategy. Being told a non-profit organization aims to increase public's awareness and to support it for its cause. So they adopt an interpretative strategy by conducting an in-depth research on the target audience's values, beliefs, and cultural context. So based on this understanding, they tailor their message and communication channel to resonate with the audience's perspective, ensuring their campaigns are culturally sensitive and effectively engaged with the intended stakeholders. That is called interpretative strategy. For example, an organization, you may want to come up with, there are some organization and what we call investors that come to a certain country. And when they come to that particular country, we find that this country is so much accustomed to their beliefs and what we call their traditions. So the clothes that they are importing from the West, bringing them to Africa, we make sure that those dresses are in line with the beliefs of the African. For example, the West dresses differently from Africans. In Africa, believe that wearing decent clothes is, you have to make sure that your body is covered fully. But in the West, there is nothing like decent clothes. Nobody will ask you, and they are accustomed to that. So assume that you have a company in the West, you're importing clothes to the West, to Africa. Those clothes that you're coming up, you're bringing to Africa, then it must be in line with what we call customs, African traditions, such that don't bring us clothes that end very early, or that start very early, and end very late. That is what what interpretative strategy is. When you're coming up with products and services, some products have a different client. You have a client, and now this client, when you move to this other section or this other country, your clients are different because of their beliefs, because of their traditions, because of their attitudes, and so on and so forth. So when you're bringing this product, it must be in line with the others. Customers are different. Customers are very different. They buy products based on their beliefs, attitudes, and culture. So for you not to close down your organization, tailor-made your products. Do what? Tailor-made your products to be culturally sensitive and to resonate with the audience's perspectives. That is what we call interpretative strategy. So there is also integrating. You can integrate various approaches. This guy called Chaffee suggested that organizations might then progress to adaptive, and interpretative approaches of strategy making. So he argued that it is important to integrate each inner level and model with the model that presents more complex system, because organizations exhibit property all levels of system complexity. So integrating different approaches to PR strategy will involve combining elements from various perspectives to create a comprehensive and effective strategy. This integration recognizes that organizations operate in a complex environment and that a singular approach not capture full range of factors influencing strategic decision making in PR. By incorporating insights from different perspectives, organization can develop more holistic and adaptable approach to strategy. So in short, in summary, Tafis is saying that it is not good to follow one strategy. You can integrate one strategy with another. Like for example, you can integrate linear strategy with adaptive strategy. You can integrate linear strategy with interpretative strategy. And when you do that, then you stand a better position, deal with issues. You stand a better position, be more insulated than when you deal with when you apply only one strategy. Integrating integrating different approaches may involve, one, can combine linear and adaptive strategy. Example, you can incorporate interpretive strategy. I'm not reading the details. You can apply different approaches at different levels. Like for example, recognizing that the different levels of strategy, that is corporate, business, and operational, may require different approaches. For example, corporate level, they adopt a more linear approach, set overall organizational goals, and operational level strategies. So we are saying applying different approaches at different levels. You can apply different approaches at different levels. For example, we are saying recognizing at different levels of strategy, that is corporate, business, operational, may require different approaches. For example, a corporate level strategy adopt a more linear approach to set overall organizational goals, while operational level strategies may employ adaptive strategies to respond to specific strategies to respond to specific market conditions or audience preferences. Then we also have what we call levels of strategy, and there are 3 levels of strategy. Number 1, we have corporate strategy, we have business or competitive strategy, we have operational or functional strategy. Now let's look at them first very fast, because I think this is the last item we are looking at. Let's look at corporate strategy. Corporate strategy is concerned with what type of business a company as a whole should be in, and is therefore concerned with decisions of the scope. Corporate strategy, again, also be concerned with decisions regarding the accusation of business, or with the allocation of resources between a company's different businesses. It may also likely to be concerned with questions about the financial structures of the company as a whole. Then may also, those that operate at lower level of the firm don't have the proper vantage point to make difficult trends offers required to maximize benefits for operations as a whole. Then we also have the business or competitive strategy. It is concerned with determining how a company should compete in a particular market. How should your company compete in a particular market? So competitive strategy is more likely concerned with various business units within the organization. Here, decisions may focus on particular segments of the market, competition, the market in which organizations operates. Then we have lastly what we call operational or functional strategy. And this is concerned with how the various functions of an organization contribute to the success of the other levels of strategy. So such contributions can be extremely important, for example, on how the organization seeks be competitive, decisions about the quality of product manufactured, the type of personnel applied can be critically important to an organization's success. In most businesses, successful business strategies depend to a large extent on decisions which are taken or activities which occur. That is called operations strategy. Unless there is a question, I will stop at that point. Unless there is a question, I will stop at that point. That is all about strategy.